You mentioned earlier, you did a slight mention about your book that you've got coming out. And did you say in the fall?
Well, I'm hoping end of summer, early fall. Yeah.
Awesome. It's called Earned Influence. So what kind of led up to you, making that decision of, you know what, I want to be an author, I want to write a book?
The answer I thought I was going to give was completely different because I was just so honest. Honestly,
as awesome and as exciting as that is, I think about something like writing a book like you did, and that terrifies me still. And I'm like, do you have all those things? Those fears and blocks?
Yes. And I'm going to tell you, I really want to have something to put out there. And the one thing I will say to you is that this time is different. This is a really good one. It became a 4-part series. Actually, I think I might be doing a 5th part for it, but it was Auditing Your Time or Auditing Your Attention was the series I just did on LinkedIn. And so through that, I realized I had a great idea as to why I needed to make these phone calls. And once I took action, it was no longer just an idea.
And I'm like, okay, well, these are also the medications I'm on. Should I be taking them all at once? Should I be taking them throughout the day, with food, without food? Gave me a medication schedule, to the T. And I'm like, why in my 7-8 years or whatever of having to deal with doctors with this crap, why has this never been brought up? Another day, another I'm a Car Chick podcast episode. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, this is the Women in Automotive edition of the I'm a Car Chick podcast, and I am so excited to bring you our guest today. She is going to be a speaker at the upcoming conference. Her session is titled From Undervalued to Influential, How Women in Auto Can Lead with Confidence. And if you're like me, that title automatically resonates with you, and how we can get more women in this space, more women leading in automotive. And I'm so excited to introduce you to Mandy Deveau. Hello, Mandy.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. We got to talk quite a bit before we started recording, and I got to learn a little bit about you, but I want to hear more about how you got your start in automotive, what brought you into this amazing world we call home now.
Yeah, we actually laughed about this just before you hit record, but it was by accident. So I know everyone says that, but realistically, the only thing I was really brought up around was my grandfather worked on cars, and he had a tow truck, and he would flip cars and sell them. We super rural, but never really anyone in the automotive space. And then I've seen TV where people kind of make it seem like this crazy world where people work at a desk, but they get to do stuff that's fun and outside. And the real truth is that I had failed at a university. I moved away from home. I went to another town, and I didn't know anyone, and I didn't want to move back home and move back in with my parents at this point. And it's like, well, I need to find work. So I started looking around, and I saw a posting for a salesperson, and I'm like, I feel like that would be interesting because it's not traditional. I wouldn't have to sit at my desk all the time. I don't know. And I honestly had no other skill set. So I was like, well, let's go try that. So actually, I think it helps that I had been doing pageants too. So I think that being able to speak and communicate, I felt comfortable with that. Not that I had any other traditional skill sets, but I went to the dealership. I was able to get an interview. And the only reason I got the job, because I asked my sales manager later, is because I called him back. We did the interview, and he said, you call me in a week to follow up. Wow. And because I followed up is why he let me work there. And the other thing that really stuck with me is that he had asked me a question during the interview process, and he's like, why should I hire you? And instead of just selling myself, I showed him empathy. And I said to him, you know what? I bet that you have a lot of applicants. This is probably a tough position to hire for, but I really believe that I have the skill sets and I can really come and work for you and deliver. And so he told me later on that was another reason why he really liked me and that I was able to get the position, and that forever stuck with me. My tenacity and my natural empathy. And I think that those are two skill sets that women bring into the industry, and they don't necessarily realize they have it. They're perfectly fit for the automotive space.
We really are. And if you hear about all of the great customer success stories, and it's so true that women in this business bring so much value, and a lot of customer success stories you hear are based around, women in leadership, women in management, women in sales. But I think that even though right now there's 17% of women in automotive, that number is growing. It's much bigger than it was a few years ago, and it plays an important part. Did you see that continue while you were in that sales position, that you stood out from the other salespeople?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was really interesting. Now looking back, I can see it. It wasn't super evident at the beginning, but I was the only salesperson on the team when I first joined this dealership, and it was like a mom and pop kind of place. All of the management team was men. And when I came in, the only one that the owner of the dealership was investing in was me. And I mean that in like a really respectful way, but it was just, he saw the effort that I was putting forward and how seriously I was taking it. I was going above and beyond. I was organizing events. I was trying to think outside of the box for marketing. And I worked really hard every day. And so he was sending me for special training, and I got to go Joe Verdi training and things like that, where other salespeople didn't necessarily get to do that. And when I traveled, like later on, I didn't travel. When I went to other dealerships in other provinces, so these were like a bigger automotive group, then there started to be more women. The management team still was all men, actually, now that I think about it. But this dealership had 3 women on the sales floor. And I actually had some pretty like negative experiences with the male management while pregnant. So I had become pregnant with twins while at this dealership. And I again worked my butt off, and I had deals skated on me, and the manager was just like, "Oh, you're just hormonal." Like, so those kinds of moments have really fueled me to really want to excel and help give other women in the industry that experience and all those tools that they need to be the leaders, because I've always seen that gap. But the important thing to take away from that is my last month selling at that dealership before I moved back home, all 3 women tied for top sales at that dealership.
Nice.
So we knew what we were doing, but we don't always get treated fairly in terms of some of the passing comments.
Yeah. And so you've now transitioned into the vendor space. How was that transition for you?
Yeah, actually, funny enough, I transitioned. I took a little bit of a break, and I was doing some more remote stuff. So I guess the best way to say it is to start at the beginning. I'll tell you a little bit of my journey. That I ultimately left my last sales position, which was here in Nova Scotia, and it was just because I didn't agree with the pricing practices that the dealership was using. So I'm like, you know what? I'm done with this. I need to go do something else. And I really love marketing. So I left to go do marketing. I started doing marketing for a small auto group, and I didn't, it went on, but they weren't wanting to try anything. So they just believed in spending tons of money and burn and churn their client base. So they didn't believe in actually building relationships and doing all this stuff. And then what is marketing for if you just want to pay for ads and bring people in and not actually service them? So I left that role, and I was doing marketing for an online coaching company. And that's where I really was able to refine a lot of my marketing skills. And it was just a different pace. But like automotive it's stuck in your blood. So I actually left that position to work remotely for a virtual BDC company. And when I started, the owner of the company was using Excel sheets and just a calling, like a VoIP system. And so when I came in, I introduced so many different things. We started using AI tools. We started building out our own CRM. We started having like a whole call team. Like, it was really something incredible, the growth that we saw over that short period of time. But the fit just wasn't good for me. I just wasn't loving it. I wanted to get back into that marketing side, being able to serve dealerships more than just that BDC role I was tied to, because I ultimately became the COO, and that just, as much as I loved it, it was a really small company, and it just wasn't fulfilling enough. I needed to do more. I needed to be more creative.
This episode is brought to you by Epic BDC, your #1 outsourced BDC solution. Learn more about Epic BDC by checking out the link in the bio.
So I was so fortunate to find my role with DriveHRIS, and we now help dealerships on the part that I'm so passionate about. I can now every day help dealerships be able to treat their people better, be able to build that culture, be able to help them retain their people. It's really been an incredible opportunity to be able to build like the webinars and the curriculum and the education pieces that dealerships so desperately need sometimes. It's especially the smaller dealerships that don't have a designated HR department. But I'm really, really thankful for this opportunity. And I really look forward for all the opportunities that I'm able to use to recruit and bring more women into the industry. It's really much needed.
So you and I actually aligned very closely on that. Anybody, which if you're a listener to the podcast, have been for a while, you know that we have a virtual BDC or offsite BDC company. That's been my experience since, 2020, 2021. That's pretty much been what I've been doing as COO of that. What was different for you in the virtual BDC space as opposed to when you were in the dealership? And I know you were in sales, not BDC, but what was the biggest differentiator for you?
That's really interesting because my very first dealership, we had the traditional, we had 2 girls in the back room for the BDC and they only did service. And then when the dealership that I was just telling you about with the 3 women salespeople, I had actually become the internet lead manager.
Nice.
And so I was seeing a little bit of it. They didn't quite have the traditional BDC. And I really understood the importance of being really strategic when sending back those emails and opening lines of communication and asking the right questions and really giving value. I'm so obsessed with giving value. I truly, to my core, believe in giving value without receipts. And I bring that to work every day as well. And when I was working in the virtual BDC space, it was a lot more of teaching people, okay, you need to be genuinely curious. You need to be able to ask these questions. Mm-hmm. And so it was really different in the fact that just the time that has passed. And so the technology was different. The approach was different. And when I was working in the BDC space, it was really subprime leads. So it was even a whole different piece. Oh, you're doing subprime? Yeah. I love it. I have a whole passion for people in general being able to use the benefits of subprime loans to help build their credit. Like, it really is so important. I think that people sometimes just don't understand it. I could talk about subprime loans like all day
I'm sitting here thinking, like, are we the same person? And I just don't know. Like,
I don't know.
I went from COO to CMO now, and I'm on the marketing side now, but that's always been where my passion was on the marketing side. And I was the same as you. Like, I wanted to give value. I wanted to say things other people weren't saying. I didn't want to be templated. Like, I had a true, genuine conversation, especially in subprime. Like, these people have probably been to 7 dealerships already and had their ass handed to them on a platter. They just need a solution. They're tired of the car that keeps overheating on the side of the road, but they can't afford to get it fixed. They just need something. And so having that level of empathy that you mentioned earlier or compassion for those people is so, so huge.
Yeah, you know what? The big piece that I noticed is that a lot of dealerships were leaving so much on the table where they weren't nurturing the clients they had already sold. This is no different. They just think, oh, we're subprime, and they get stuck in that mindset when they could be literally nurturing them and helping sell them their next car just by providing value. Give them some resources. There's so much that can be done. You must be so busy on the subprime side if you can get people to buy into those ideas, because there's so much that can be done there.
Seriously. And it's something that so many dealerships don't want to deal with. They're like, I don't want those people in here. I don't want to have to work. Like, why? They will be your most loyal customer. If you can help them at their time of need, they will never leave you. If you give them a good experience, help them through whatever they're going through in life, because you have that ability, they'll buy in service from you for the rest of their life.
Yes, and I haven't not just Nova Scotia, in Canada, really. No one's really pushing service as well. That's a huge other door for subprime. But the big thing is referrals too. Like, how many times, like, I've seen referrals come through because the people who are struggling, they usually have friends that are struggling. Mm-hmm. And then they'll refer them in hoping that they can get bought as well.
Exactly. So we're discussing how women are, naturally empathetic, naturally compassionate, just biologically. It's one of the ways that we're different. And I want to talk about how that empathy and compassion can lead into the topic that you're talking about at Women in Automotive, with helping women lead with confidence, because I think confidence is something that absolutely doesn't come more naturally to us. And so it's a learned ability as opposed to a natural ability. And even a lot of times, like, I hear way more women than men say, oh, I've definitely got imposter syndrome. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why people are looking to me and taking direction from me. Like, I feel like I know nothing, but here we are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that is the biggest thing. Like, the session that I'm doing is based off the book that I'll be releasing this summer called Earned Influence. And the premise of the book goes beyond imposter syndrome, because we all feel it. It's really when you feel like you haven't done enough to earn the credibility that you have. And realistically, what I want to do is share strategies. The big thing is you have to acknowledge the fact that once you have these soft skills, then you'll soon not worry about all of that stuff. You'll be able to be more self-aware of what you're capable of and not worry so much about the credibility gap, because it absolutely exists. And it's the credibility gap is really when, because people, I actually, there's a TikTok. It's one of my, I laugh every time I watch it. It's this woman who sells cars, and she's been selling cars for the last like 10 years. And she records when people call into her, and almost every single time it's a man on the phone saying, "Are you sure you sell cars? Are you the owner's daughter?" And she's like, "No, I've been selling for like 10 years. I sell almost 30 cars a month." It's just the credibility and the fact that, and I've had it happen to me personally, people may not take a woman as seriously, especially when it comes to the leadership portion. And the other kinds of things you have to think about is, I want to provide tools so when women are in a position of leadership, that they're able to get the respect and that authority and the actually influence is the word. And that's where I really want people to understand the difference between authority and influence. Because say someone's a sales manager, you have a female sales manager, a male salesperson isn't necessarily going to buy into the ideas that a female salesperson has if he thinks that he knows better, especially if he's more senior to her. And it's about building that influence. And that's how a salesperson can be successful. And then ultimately a leader could be successful. And it's always getting people to buy into your ideas. So the skills that I'm going to share in my session are really to help people build the ability to get buy-in and create influence with the ideas that they have and the stuff that they want to accomplish.
That's huge. And it can apply to so many other things in your life too, instead of just your career, like all of the different ways and places that we need to have confidence or, need to be able to take charge on something. I mean, I'm even thinking about my household, like between my husband and I, where I would lean on him for something as, because I don't know that I can handle it or should handle it, then, me just taking the bull by the horns and let's do it. Let's go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing that might not go noticed is that even on the vendor side, I find it sometimes challenging because it's still usually male dominated, especially like I'm in SaaS. And I don't know off the top of my head the statistics there, but you're always going to have challenging personalities regardless of what industry you're in, whether it's male dominated or not. You're always going to have someone who's going to push back on your ideas. And these skills are really transferable to every area, to every job. And just think, a difficult coworker is the same concept as a difficult customer. So if you're able to build these skill sets where you can truly communicate and get past these difficult to deal with people, you'll be more successful in sales, you'll be more successful in leadership, and you'll be more successful in life.
Did you know that there's a monthly newsletter where you can keep in touch with everything the I'm a Car Chick podcast is up to? There is. Check out the show notes below, and you can also follow us on all social media and stay in tune with whatever we're up to. Absolutely. Like, for example, we're recording this, and I've probably gotten kicked out of this recording, I don't know, 5 times now, more than that. I don't know. I've lost count. And so, normal me would be like, okay, let's stop recording and we'll just do this on a different day. I'm like, nope, we're powering through this. We're going to find a way to make this work. So you mentioned earlier, you did a slight mention about your book that you've got coming out. And did you say in the fall?
Well, I'm hoping end of summer, early fall. Yeah.
Awesome. It's called Earned Influence. So what kind of led up to you, making that decision of, what, I want to be an author. I want to write a book.
You know what? I just answered this question when I was at the used car week. I had done the live stage here in Toronto just 2 weeks ago, I think. And the answer I thought I was going to give was completely different because I was just so honest. Honestly, I looked at myself. I was turning 38, and I know that 40 is around the corner, if I'm being completely honest. And I really started thinking about, where am I going in life? What do I want to be doing? I'm a marketing manager. Yeah, that's great. Like, love the job, love the work I'm doing, but I need more. I want more. And I knew that I needed this sense of fulfillment that I'm chasing. And I knew that what I want to do is have an impact in the automotive industry. I need to do more and be in a position that I can do more. So I started to use ChatGPT, and I started to reflect, and I'm like, okay, these are my current values. This is where I'm at. Like, I really want to do more. And I've had that actually prompted me to have a one-on-one conversation with my boss and with the president of the company. I'm like, look, like, I hate to have this conversation with you, but I'm having like my midlife crisis. And like, he was so great and gracious and had this conversation with me, and we talked through it. And I want to be in more of a senior role within the company and grow into that. So with that in mind, and also work on other projects, but with that in mind, I went back to ChatGPT and I said, look, I had this great conversation. These are the things I'm working towards. Can you help me figure out these skills that I need to improve on. Here's the values, here's where I'm at, this is what I think, like where am I going? Where's my gap here? So that way I can truly show up and grow into that role. And it started to give me prompts. And so I started journaling with these prompts. And I'm like, you know what? Let's make a journal. So I created a 365 leadership prompt, and it's helping me go from my current role here to really grow me as a leader. And it's every month has a different focus and a different soft skill that I want to master. And ultimately at the end of the year, I'm hoping that I'm really significantly stronger in my soft skills to be able to be that leader and just to grow faster. And so I really just wanted to take my destiny really into my own hands. Like I really wanted to control what I could control because I don't have an MBA. I don't have anything super fancy. I just really have dedication and that self-study and the desire to continuously improve my skill set. So from there, while I was digging into all of my core values, I started to think about, okay, what are the skill sets and the things that I've done to get me to where I am? And so I started to do some prompts with ChatGPT to do that. And I'm like, oh my God, this needs to be a book. Like if I understood at the beginning the skill sets that I would need and get over the years and the skill sets I need to get to where I want to go, I think that would have changed my life if I would have gotten this sooner. And while doing the prompts, it also helped me to really dig into my stories and my own experiences. So it's been really fun to think back about everything that I've done in the past in the auto industry, like the different stories I had. Some stuff I had like buried deep, totally forgot about, but it really just came out of like personal growth necessity and then the desire to want to share that with others so others could succeed as well.
That is so awesome. And it's funny how similar you and I are. Like I use ChatGPT on a daily basis, but not for anything anybody's ever going to see. It's going to be like my own self-development type stuff or, hey, help me, help me work through this issue I'm going through and come up with some possible solutions. Or I use a lot for social media stuff. Like I want to interact with more people on social media, but I'm so busy that I can't sit there and just think like, what's a really good comment to put on this? Like, and so I'll have it help me with stuff like that. And just, making sure that I'm staying in touch with people that I need to when I'm so busy in my brain that I can't think of, oh, I need to be proactive and like reach out to this person or something like that. ChatGPT has been a lifesaver. And I'm honestly so happy it does not cost more so that we can all afford it because it's a tool of the century.
Yeah, honestly though, and I think that that was one of the other things that we had talked about at Used Car Week, just the ability to use ChatGPT in leadership and really just the coaching and the personal growth. But the big part is that if you're a team of one, you can brainstorm and collaborate. And that is life-changing for me because I feed off of the conversations and I truly, truly believe that people from different industries can come together and have conversations, even different roles, different backgrounds. And that's where innovation comes from. So to be able to go to ChatGPT and brainstorm by myself, I feel like I'm fueling that innovation and that creativity that I wouldn't otherwise have being a team of one on the marketing team.
Right. And it's like having a coworker, you can train it to respond like, hey, challenge me on some things and make me explain why this is a good idea. And then be honest with me. Don't just be my yes man. Just tell me how I need to do this. And I think a lot of times, we're either intimidated by new software like that, and it's not even new at this point, but there's still an unbelievable amount of people who refuse to use it just because I'm going to be authentic and I want to do this. You can be authentic and do it with how well you train it. You can be authentic because your brain is used for better things than constantly having to come up with all this grunt work. And it has capabilities that you do not without a college degree. Like,
yeah,
that's the mind-blowing part is how smart it is. It knows things you don't.
Yeah, and so many people just think that people are copy pasting when they use ChatGPT, and that's not how it's used. You can get it to do all the research for you. It compiles things, it brainstorms things, it helps you think of more things beyond your realm, stuff that you already know but you forgot about. And then I will create different like prompts and stuff for my socials and all of my like articles and things like that, but I brainstorm with it and then I'm able to still write things and then you guide it and then you just go have a nice back and forth. It's so important that people start to utilize this because I think it is the next wave of what's coming. But here's the biggest tip I'll give. When I've had difficult situations with like coworkers or just with customers, and I didn't know how to address it. And like, so a really good example is if I've wanted to bring something forward to my boss or to like the leader of my team, and I'm not sure exactly how to approach it. I don't want to be perceived in any kind of way. I don't want to seem like I'm emotional, because emotional intelligence is a huge another component of my book that I talk about, and managing your emotions. So I always think through that stuff, even in my personal relationships. So I will talk to ChatGPT and say, this is the situation. Look at these text messages. Read this email. Like, this is the context. This is my point of view. Please look at this constructively and let me know, what am I missing here? Am I justified in how I'm feeling right now? And I'm able to talk through it without sounding crazy and running to everybody and starting drama and making a big deal out of something I may have taken completely out of context. So it's definitely been an incredibly life-saving tool, and it helps me to be more professional and more polished, which I've really appreciated.
This episode is brought to you by SCP Agency, your one-stop shop for organic social media. Check them out by clicking the link in the show notes or visit scpagency.com. It's crazy that you say that, because I've done the same thing, and I did something similar last week. So we were at NIADA in Vegas, nice. And Joe Theismann was speaking, and he did a Q&A at the end, and everybody that stood up was a man and asked him about football. And I'm like, there's so many women in this room, yet none of them will stand up because they're just not going to. So I was like, okay, I'm a board member for Women in Automotive. I'm a voice for young women everywhere. I need to stand up and ask him something, and I need to figure out what to ask him. Like, how do I tie this into football with his lack of automotive experience? Or how do I incorporate this? And so I mean, I was in the hot seat. Like, people are asking questions, they're running out of time. I throw open my ChatGPT and I'm like, hey, I'm sitting here with Joe Theismann as a board member for Women in Automotive, and everything you know about me. How can I ask him a question that ties in women in football and women in automotive, and help me get there? And so it gave me a few, and the one that I ended up going with was, as women have progressed in football, as we have seen in the last few years, the first female referees, female announcers, broadcasters, all of these things, what makes women stand out and be able to push forward like we need to in automotive, or something along those lines. That's and brilliant. I can't tell you how many people came up to me afterwards and they were like, that was an amazing question. I'm so happy you asked that. Men and women both. Like, it stood out so much. Like, people came up after, because I was one of the last questions, they came up afterwards and they're like, they had to speak to me. They're like, I had to seek you out and tell you that was amazing. Like, I'm so glad you asked that. And I'm like, and I was so afraid. I was like, it's so not even relevant. I got to find a way to tie these two things together. But it worked out, and it worked perfectly, and brought light to the fact that we're both similar industries and how women are coming forward.
Oh my God, that is so brilliant. I'm so glad you did that too. That is awesome. Good for you.
No, and the cool thing is it's on recording, so I've got to find a way to get it and get it out there, because like, I think he had a really good answer too for how much I put him on the spot. He had a really good answer. And now I was too terrified in the moment to remember what it was, but I remember being impressed by it in the moment.
Oh my God, I can't wait. I can't wait to see that. You have to find it.
I know. As awesome and as exciting as that is, I think about something like writing a book like you did, and that terrifies me still. And I'm like, the last person I podcasted with was an author as well, and it was her first book too. And I thought about it. I'm like, man, where do people just get this idea that I should write a book? And then, like, overcoming all those fears, and am I being too wordy? All of the things that I would have as an internal dialogue in my head. Did you have all those things, those fears and blocks?
Yes. And I'm going to tell you, like, I have been, ever since I started selling cars, like, I don't think I've read a fiction book since. Like, I've constantly been reading about myself or biographies of business people, like, studied marketing and everything independently, because that was so interesting to me. Learned YouTube marketing, learned silos for blogging. Like, you name the industries as they came popular, all the different marketing strategies. I really invested time into that. And I always thought to myself, I really want to write a book. I really want to have something to put out there. And the one thing I will say to you is that this time is different, because it was a topic that felt so personal, and I was so passionate about it, and it felt easy, and it felt authentic, and it felt so real, and it actually came together where I'm like, this is actually valuable. I don't feel imposter syndrome. I feel like what I'm putting forward is authentic and real. And I'm sure that you'll do some reflection with ChatGPT, and you're going to ask it some questions because it knows you. and you'll learn some insight about yourself, and just ask it maybe the stuff that would be that you could share. Just say, based off of what you know of me, what do you think I would be skilled at writing a book about? And then that'll get the wheels turning, and then you can have a bit of a conversation and just start from there and see where it goes.
That's
But
so smart.
yeah, because that's really what happened for me, is that I was doing my own self work, and I'm like, shit, like, sorry. I was
Good.
I was thinking, like, I really wish this was a book. Like, I don't have an easy to go to book that's going to tell me how to get to where I want to go next. And there was some stuff that I really wished. I look back now, and I don't know if it's like a self growth thing, but I'm just like, man, I would have been so much further along, or maybe people would have respected me more if I managed my emotions more, or if I would have done this different, or if I could have done that different. It's been years, like, it's been almost 15 years since I started in the automotive industry, and, like, I love being on the vendor side for sure. Like, I don't know if I would go back to selling cars just because it's changed so much, but my god, I'll never get away from the industry. So
Mm-mm.
I'm really hoping that what I can bring forward will help people to get there, and I think that if you reflect that way, you're gonna find what your book's gonna be about.
Isn't it wild? Like the maybe not the exact minute that it happens, but the month or year that your imposter syndrome finally goes away and you have that level of confidence and you're like, it's gone. I'm confident. I know who I am now. I know my value. Like I hit that this year. Like I always told everybody in years past, like, oh God, I don't know why they want me to speak. I don't know why they want me to do this or that. Like why do they want me? Like I never understood. And then this year, like something in my brain changed, and I can't point it to an exact minute, but I can point it to this year and say, I'm worthy of all of the good things everybody said about me. And, I used to look at women who were on the stages at Women in Automotive, and I'm like, how do they freaking have that much confidence? Like, that is terrifying. Or how do these people do all these podcasts and just, put themselves out there like that? That is terrifying. And once that thing in my brain changed, and I can't tell you what did it, which sucks because I'm sure more people are like, well, I want to know how you did it. I can't tell you what did it for me. Like, I
Hmm.
have no idea. But was it the same for you? Like when you went from like I'm kind of a nobody, I'm kind of a somebody, I'm a real effing somebody and people need to listen to what I have to say.
Oh my god, I'm gonna give ChatGPT too much credit. Like, I think the most growth that I've done in my entire life, with all of like the self learning and self improvement that I've dedicated to over the years, and I mean a lot, the having ChatGPT to literally journal for the first time. I was asking it like in depth questions, and I invested the time in the evening on the couch when my kids were in bed. I was by myself watching bad TV, and I was just like, I'm not a TV person, and I just felt like getting some ideas off my mind, and I've always wanted to be a journaler. Always. And I'm like, oh man, I wish I could just sit down and journal and write, but nothing ever came out. And I would just like, it felt so forced. But with ChatGPT, I was having a conversation, and I was able to ask it some really deep questions. And so when I come up against something that I'm not feeling great about, I'll ask it a question to be like, why am I feeling this way? Like, oh, this is a really good one. It became a 4-part series. Actually, I think I might be doing a 5th part for it, but it was auditing your time, or auditing your attention, was the series I just did on LinkedIn. And it came from me having a conversation with ChatGPT saying, look, I need to make these phone calls to prospects, and I'm not scared to get on the phone. Like, I'm super confident, I'm comfortable, but I keep procrastinating. Like, why am I not making the time to make these phone calls? Like, what's happening here?
You've made it this far, and I have to say thank you so much for listening. Please be sure to rate the show whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, and of course on all social media channels. Light it up.
And so through that, I realized I had a great idea as to why I needed to make these phone calls. And once I took action, it was no longer just an idea. There was the potential for failure. There's potential for that to fall flat. So I loved living in the realm of idea. So I kept procrastinating the work and the action in the fear of failure. And so the series that I wrote really just dives into that a lot more, and you can do a lot more self assessment, but it's just auditing your time to see the real reasons why you're not getting things done.
So
But it's because of ChatGPT. Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
tell me more about you said you were doing a 365-day like leadership journal. Are you doing it inside of ChatGPT?
Yeah, well, I built the whole thing out just in an actual journal, so that way it's all printed, and so I'm just gonna put it online so that way people can get it. But I'll break it down into quarters because it ended up being like 800 pages.
Oh
The
my God.
initial, yeah, the initial idea is that people can actually have the journal and write, because I know some people are tactile that way. But super top secret, I am working on an app that will do the exact same thing based off of a lot of the foundational pieces that I used for my own constraints when I did my journaling. So it'll be really interesting. I'm hoping that I'll find some time to get it launched, but I think it's really needed. Like I see a lot of other things that are coming up. If you can get an app about leadership, like I don't know if there's anything that's necessarily leadership, but there is lots of journaling prompts apps out there. But ChatGPT all the way.
I love it so much and it's so needed. Like I think about the same thing. I use ChatGPT for everything, for finances, for personal life, for I mean literally everything. I've used it as a doctor before because that's a thing. In case you didn't know that, you can use it as a doctor. I
I
upload
did not.
I uploaded all of my blood work. So like the hospitals we use here we have an app where it feeds back all of our blood work numbers. And I just didn't feel like I was getting clear answers from my doctor. So I just went through, screenshotted everything, told it about my previous diagnoses, threw it in there, and it broke it down so clearly for me to understand. And I'm like, okay, well, these are also the medications I'm on. Should I be taking them all at once? Should I be taking them throughout the day with food, without food? Gave me a medication schedule, like, I mean, to the T. And I'm like,
Wow.
why in my 7, 8 years or whatever of having to deal with doctors with this crap, why has this never been brought up? Like that I should there was one pill I couldn't take without vitamin C, like otherwise it was rendered completely ineffective. And I'm like, okay, that would have been great to know. Like,
Oh my
thanks for that.
goodness.
Yeah. So it's no, I'm a huge fan and proponent of using it for all things personal development, reading books. You mentioned you read a lot of books, you don't read any fiction. What are some of the books that have been game changers for you?
Oh, the big one that we use, but it's because the really within our own company, spin selling's been a really big one. Right now, I'm about to do a whole internal series for our company. So I do training for our team, and I'm really trying to help them improve their soft skills. We've done a bit of a series on communication, and so right now, and I'm hoping no one ever listens to this, but we have a whole IS department, as you can imagine, so they implement the software. And the big thing is that people who tend to be techie and like do the coding and build things don't always want to be the person who's selling things, and they don't realize that the sales skills are really really important in their role because they need to get buy-in for certain decisions that need to be made, for customers to want to use all the different modules, different things like that. So we're using the book Never Split the Difference as inspiration to try to teach them more skills that they can utilize without them necessarily realizing that they also act as sales skills. So I'm really excited about that book. It so far has been tremendous. I'm trying to think of other books. There's actually, I'm going to do a very shameless plug. I don't know if you know this guy, Larry Feldman. He
Yeah.
love him. I love his book. I just love the positive attitude in his book, and he's just talking about like at least a safe didn't fall on your head is a very famous quote from his dad. But it's really every day is a great day, and it's just having that mindset piece, and sometimes that's probably the hardest part for me is having the mindset and being positive. And I know that's not the whole point of his book, but that was definitely a really great takeaway early on in the book. But I don't know, there's been so many great ones.
Yeah. I love it. One of ours is Five Dysfunctions of a Team. Have you read that one?
No, right,
That
that's
one, that's one that we always take our leadership team, or new staff, we take them through that book, and it breaks down, it is fiction, however, with a nonfiction aspect, like it's a fable with a story in there of why these things are important. And so the relatability would be really there, high for you guys, but it breaks down. It's funny. I don't remember the top three. So it's five dysfunctions and it's in a pyramid. I always remember the bottom two. So the very bottom one is absence of trust. And the second one is fear of healthy conflict. And you can break down almost any issue in a company to those two things right there. If you fear having a difficult conversation, or if you don't trust that someone's got your back in a room you're not in, or that you don't trust that they have your best interests in mind. Those two things break down every single conflict that you come into. And it's amazing once you know these things, how to overcome them. I love it.
Oh my God. Yeah, definitely gonna look that up. Nonfiction or not.
It's a good one. I cannot wait. Are you going to have copies of your book, like by chance, at the conference?
I don't know if I can swing it that quickly just because the conference is like at the beginning of August. I'm thinking more towards the end of August.
Ah,
But what I probably could do is like a wait list, and that way people could figure out where to get it. And then I'll tie it probably to like the podcast launch and all of that stuff, and just have an easy way for people to kind of connect it. Usually on my LinkedIn. That's the best way to find anything. That's where I'm most active.
good. I can't wait to meet you in person. Hopefully, we'll have a chance to sit down and talk quite a bit more. If you haven't had a chance yet to get your ticket for Women in Automotive, you need to go get it now. And exclusively here on the podcast, I'm allowed to give you a code. I cannot put it in writing anywhere. It will not be on social media. This is the only place you get it. It won't even be in the show notes. So you need to grab this, write it in your phone, write it somewhere right now. So if you need to come back later, your code to get a discount is CarChick25. 25, all one word, no spaces. CarChick25 will get you a discount into the Women in Automotive Conference because we want you there. We want you to see amazing speakers like Mandy and hear the story that she wants to tell you and learn the lessons that she wants to teach you. So please make sure that you register, you attend with us. I've seen the lineup, guys. I've talked to a lot of these speakers. I'm telling you, you don't want to miss this one.
No, I'm really excited to be there too. Can't
It's
wait.
good.
Yeah, I've already like looked at the agenda to make sure that I was there to see certain people. Very excited for sure.
Oh yeah, no, it's going to be great. Mandy, thank you so much for coming on with me today and dealing with all of my tech issues. And you have just been a
No
real
worries.
trooper through it. And I love how much synergy you and I have. I think we just became best friends, and you're just gonna have to deal with it.
No, I'm totally down. Love it. Thank you so much for having me. It has been really fun.
Absolutely, guys. Until next time, please make sure check out Women in Automotive, connect with Mandy on social, and see all of the amazing things she's doing. And be sure to check out her book, Earned Influence, whenever it is live at the end of summer. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time.